So you can talk all over the world, you can talk to the next state, you can talk to this town, you can use little handheld radios, you can put radios in the car, you can put radios in your house. When I first moved to my house that Robert talked about, and we really hard at the time, we're about 1,600 feet above Reno. Right. Yeah, I mean, it snows. Well, I know it snows in Reno, but I mean 3 feet for a mile of road. I mean, you know. So where I used to live in Incline, it snowed a lot. It snowed 10 feet in 3 days in 1986. And they came by with a plow and burned. They put snow in front of my garage door, this high, 12 feet wide at the bottom. It took me all day to get out of it. I said, I'm never going to do this. So I went to Donner Ski Ranch, you know, on Old Highway 40 at the top of Donner Summit. And I knew the guy that owned the place. I said, Norm? Norm Saylor. Yeah.
Oh, no. He's a good friend of mine.
Norm Saylor?
Norm, yes.
Good! Norm was a childhood hero. He used to water ski at the west end of Donner Lake.
With the kid.
He was so strong. He could break the rope on the back, but we had to have a special heavy rope for him. He was really strong. Anyhow, I said, what do you got in the way of an old snowblower? So I got this 1938 Snow Go. The cab was wood, it was gone. He put a 52 Chevy on, you know, off a truck on the top of it. I bought it from him. It took me 2 weeks to get the thing running. I mean, bearings and on and on. And I took it to Incline Village, and from then on, I did the street from my house all the way out to the Mount Rose Highway. And it looked like a landing strip at the airport. I mean, lean and dead. Blow that stuff 100 feet off the road. But up on top of the mountain when we moved there, I brought my snowblower and dang, it broke about. I'd had it for several years, and it broke. And so I got a new one, a 52. Oh, but this one was cool. It has 1,800 cubic inch engine in the back, and a little 500 cubic inch engine just to move it, and it was huge, big snowblower. But when I moved up there, I'd been there 2 weeks. Now, you know, sometimes ham radio sets get in, you know, I'm saying the new cars, you put a ham radio set in the car and you transmit it, it shuts the engine off. I mean, so you got, before you do it, be careful. Put the antenna at the back or something. These. What's the point of that? I can't remember. Oh yeah. I moved to this property, right? So I drove up to the top of Microwave Road, and back to the guy with all the tanks, with the live machine guns in the living room, and I set up the antenna, and it was incredible. I heard these weak signals from all over the world. You heard they're saying in Belgium, you heard they're saying in England, you heard they're saying in the Philippines, in Japan. It was incredible. It was almost 9,000 feet out. And remember how he says those signals come in over the treetops, you know, they come in, and when you get way up there, you know, when you launch a signal from them, it really is on the horizon, so it really doesn't get up to that 200 mile till Kansas, and you really go a long, long way, really works well. So I said to a friend of mine, I'm only going to be at 6,000 feet. You know, I said, is this going to be any good? And I had him drive up to the place we're going to buy it. What do you think? Bill? Bill? He says, he used to work for the county, Washoe County, doing communication engineers. He said, I have been to up Microwave Road, up the top of Virginia Peak in the winter. You don't want to even think of it. He said, that last straight stretch to the top, I've seen a whole row of telephone poles all snapped off. The snow, ice would build up that far around the telephone pole, then the wind would come up to 100 miles an hour and just break them all off. Can you imagine put up some little aluminum antenna? It would never last a winter. Never last a winter. He says, just be happy where you are. So I set up we bought the house. I put a little tiny antenna up on the generator shed and all that. And 2 weeks later, I got a phone call. Hi, are you Henry Library? one of my neighbors. It's got to be one of my neighbors. I'm 40 acres in the middle of nowhere. And someo's calling. I'm probably his television or his telephone or his intercom in his house or something. And I'm wrecking.
Really?
And I said, yes, I am. He says, well, so am I. You talked to 4 stations today in Africa on 24 megahertz, and I didn't hear one. I said, well, where do you live? Well, I can see your house. He was down in Palomino Valley. It makes a difference when you get up high. So that's why we moved the top down.
What about the language?
You know, I mean, we can't say else. But it's always in English everywhere. There are about, I'm sorry, these numbers are bogus, but ballpark. Okay, so there's 1 million hams in the world. Half of them live in the United States. Okay, it's English. Now, you have no idea the thrill. I have a little Berlitz book, right? You know, foreign languages. And so I'll be talking to Latvia. I say, good evening in Latvian. The guy just falls off. Americans only speak English, you know. And so it's fun. And it's fun, you know, the old joke, if you go to France, you say, parlez-vous français, and they help you, you know, you try to speak their language. But people really do appreciate it. And if you do speak a foreign language, that's perfect. I hear a lot of Spanish. But ham radio is an enormous amount of fun. Oh, they have, for the anybody like to play golf or do some sports where you maybe bet on the outcome of the next hole? Or I bet I can get a shot group less than an inch. Guys are competitive. They really like to win, and we like to have games where we can. And so they have contests. And we had one last weekend. And you try to talk to as many stations as you can all over the world. And you get points for every country you talk to. That multiplies it by so much. And, you know, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, that's a lot of fun. We get on. And, if we got on the air right now, we hear a few stations, you know. But during the contest, it's just wall-to-wall betting. Signal after signal just crammed all together. And it's just a fun weekend. So, I've always gotten a thrill on ham radio. The notion that you can just put a wire up over the house and your signal radiates out to space and someone else picks it up and then you hear what they're saying and it comes back. Not to mention you have your own personal communication system. You know, it's yours. And you can use it to talk to other people, to talk home. I mean, if you go out four-wheeling in the middle of nowhere, you can get a hold of somebody and get help.